Hi, I'm Dr. Bob Conrad with Southwest Clinical Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our introduction DVD specifically addressing the CEREC in your own backyard and CEREC Encyclopedia programs that we've developed here at Southwest Clinical Technologies. It's interesting, we've had an opportunity to visit with doctors around the world, and specifically around the country, both Canada and the United States, where doctors have specifically told us what they're looking for with respect to their CEREC training. You see, again, just as a brief review, I've been using CEREC since 1996 and have had the opportunity to train nearly 3,000 doctors in the CEREC technique in those number of years that I have been using and training the CEREC technology. You see, we developed the CEREC in your own backyard and the CEREC Encyclopedia series here at Southwest Clinical Technologies to do one thing, and that was to bring practical, sensible protocols for the CEREC system to doctors who are utilizing it in their day-to-day practice. You see, as a practicing dentist, I go through and I utilize the CEREC system each and every day that I'm in the clinical office. Then when I'm not using CEREC, I'm teaching CEREC. Why? Simply because I feel it's one of the most exciting pieces of technology to ever enter the dental field, and today still remains on the cutting edge of being one of the finest technologies that we can purchase or invest in within our practice. You see, we began looking at what doctors were requesting from us because we began hearing, based upon their needs, that doctors necessarily did not want to have to travel to bring their staffs, to take time away from their practice, to book an airfare, run into the hotel and meal expenses that they many times did when they had to travel and spending literally thousands of dollars to gain knowledge and information that, if possible, could be brought to them in their own backyard. Hence the CEREC in your own backyard advanced training programs that we have developed here at Southwest Clinical Technologies. What I'd like to do in these next few moments is just a brief review and a brief introduction of our advanced posterior training programs, as well as our advanced implant training programs and our advanced anterior training programs. See, the advanced posterior and introduction to anterior program has probably been one of our most popular programs. Specifically, why? Because the CEREC system lends itself beautifully to those situations within our clinical practices every day. You see, in this program we discuss the software. We go into details of what it does, where it does it, explaining the menus and discussing the various aspects that are available within our software packages. Then we go into the design concepts, preparations, where we discuss the instrumentation, and then we start into the design concepts, first and foremost being that of the correlation design. We go into the antagonist design concepts and then address an area on antagonist context, both occlusal as well as interproximal. Then we go into a design technique, which was the start of just about everything we do, and that is the correlation ghost. You see, I had the privilege of presenting a presentation to the Academy of Computerized Dentistry of North America in Montreal, Canada, a number of years ago. And one of the doctors at that program says, "Bob, I'd love it if you had this program on DVD." I said, "You know what? I've never even thought about doing that." And he says, "Consider it, because I think it would be one of the most effective ways of you bringing the message that you have with respect to CEREC training directly to doctors who need it." That was the start of it. And specifically, that program was first developed with the correlation ghost. Now we go into the Serac Materials, and then we discuss the CEREC parameters and the configuration options. For those of you who have heard me speak before, I've always made the statement, if CEREC is not delivering to you what you want, fix it. This is the fixes that you go through to have the CEREC system deliver to you what you expect. Then we go into the posterior correlation quadrant, anterior preparations, and the anterior correlation. We discuss how to do two anteriors side by side. Then we go into a technique that we developed here at Southwest Clinical Technologies called the modified margin technique. Then we go into a section that's probably been one of the most popular sections of any program that I do, and that's what I call my OOPS section, where we show you our mistakes, our errors, where we stumbled, and how we corrected those. And then lastly, in every program that we do, I always discuss an indirect technique, for the simple reason that just because CEREC can be done posteriorly, anteriorly, and direct does not necessarily mean it's always the most effective or efficient way to do an anterior or posterior restoration. Hence the reason that we teach our indirect technique. In our advanced posterior implant program, we go through and we discuss more advanced quadrant techniques, how to do a quadrant of crowns, how to do a quadrant via antagonist, and then we go into implant designs. Again, we talk about design concepts. What design technique, correlation, antagonist, dental database. What do I use when and why? We go into our keys of success, and then we discuss imaging in more detail, specifically imaging with respect to implants and quadrants. We go through and we discuss the correlation posterior design as well as the antagonist design, reviewing a lot of what we discussed in the Volume 1 or the CEREC Advanced Posterior Implant Introduction Program. Then we go into the posterior replication crown. Then we delve deep into the bonded implant crown. Then we also discuss how to go through and develop a screw-retained implant crown with respect to CEREC. We talk about the splinted restoration techniques, and then we talk about going through and specifically address what I call making them match. Here we also discuss materials in detail. What materials lend themselves to the very best implant restorative techniques that we do within CEREC. Then again, we discuss and review our parameters section. In the Advanced Anterior program, it is specifically that. Again, we discuss key design concepts and our keys for success. We go into imaging in the anterior because there are some very unique aspects of anterior imaging that are vital for predictable success with the CEREC system. We go into the preparations and we discuss the anterior correlation. We discuss the anterior ghost and the anterior dental database, talking about each specific area of design and how we best utilize it in the anterior. We talk about how to do 2 anteriors and the anterior 6. Here again, we discuss an indirect technique because in the anterior there are times that indirect is the finest and the best way to go. We talk about how to transfer a wax-up from an aesthetic pre-planned case to a final correlated designed restoration set, be it 1, 2, or 6 anterior teeth. Then we talk about milling of the anteriors and specifically the milling preparation combination and how both of those are going to affect the ultimate aesthetic result that we get. We discuss the polychromic blocks that are available and we go into detail on how to make a match. We also go into the staining and aesthetics for the anterior restorations and discuss how to do an add-on of ceramic with both the Empress, the Vita, and the Emax materials and how they can best be utilized. Now, in our CEREC Encyclopedia DVD training series, this is what I refer to as our take-home, the opportunity to literally sit in the comfort of your own home, not being bound to a computer, not being tied up at work, not having to travel halfway across the country, to be able to see and understand CEREC. You see, the beautiful thing about a DVD training series is that it gives you the opportunity to learn it at your pace. These are professionally produced, menu-driven DVDs. With these DVDs, we also contain a separate data disc, a CD that can be loaded onto your CEREC machine or onto any CEREC machine that presently runs the CEREC software and follow along step by step by step using the exact same images that we have utilized within the CEREC system to practice the design techniques that we teach. Then secondarily, we also have screen capture demonstrations showing you a live hands-on protocol in every step that we do in every design technique that we teach. And of course, the CEREC Encyclopedia is a fully accredited PACE CE program. Simply by completing the post-tests at the end of the DVD series, submitting them back to us here at Southwest Clinical Technologies, you can receive full PACE CE credits for these. You see, this program was developed at the request of many participants in our programs and lectures that we have given from Southwest Clinical Technologies. They wanted to provide a ready reference for the vast amount of materials that previously has been unavailable. Doctors had asked us, where's this written down, Bob? Truth be known, it's not written down anywhere. DVD presentation is the most effective way and most economical way to put this information directly in the hands of those clinicians utilizing the CEREC system. You see, in the CEREC Encyclopedia Volume 1, this is 14 DVDs that go into detail. Now we're going to touch just briefly on each of these in just a few moments. But these 14 DVDs, again, are professionally produced to bring directly to you and your associates and your dental team state-of-the-art training. They're broken down into 1 to 2 hour DVDs that you can literally watch one a night for a period of about a week and have covered all the information that you need to. But then the beauty of it is it's readily accessed for easy review whenever it's necessary. You see, in Volume 1, we literally present CEREC from A to Z with respect to everything that you need to know and how to use the CEREC system at the basic levels and also at the intermediate levels. You see, we start from the aspect that you know nothing about computers, nor do you have any comprehension of CEREC. We discuss each of the menus, what they do and how they work. We've had doctors come back and state to us, you know, the CEREC Encyclopedia is everything that CEREC training should be. Y'all, I could not be more honored than to hear a comment like that made about this program. And we've had doctors year after year after year continue to comment on how beneficial this has been to them and their CEREC team. Because the beautiful thing is if a new CEREC member comes on board, you simply present the DVD series to them, giving them the opportunity to watch these DVDs without the expense of having to send them to a training program. In Volume 2 of the CEREC Encyclopedia, we cover the advanced posterior restorative techniques and implant restorative techniques of the system. So you can see how our DVD series exactly parallels our CEREC in your own backyard. In CEREC Encyclopedia, Volume 3, we discuss the advanced anterior techniques as well as advanced implant techniques with respect to the CEREC system. But if I can, let's delve just briefly into some details here with respect to Volume 1. We discuss the CEREC system, specifically all the various aspects of the CEREC hardware and software, how to go through and set things up, what the menus mean and how they work. Then in Chapter 2 we go into the setup and materials, chairside setup, CEREC setup, and the materials that we utilize within the CEREC system. Here we go through and discuss what materials work best when and where, and how we actually set up our operatories. In Chapter 3, we go into the isolation and preparation, where we demonstrate an indirect technique as well as all the aspects that make preparation in the CEREC system to work hand in hand with the milling. Chapter 4, we go into what I call Image is Everything, where we discuss the powder coating, camera handling, and imaging within the CEREC system. In Chapter 5, we discuss not only the parameters, but the parameter configuration option settings, because these two factors are so critical with respect to the success, or in other words, the fit of your CEREC restorations. In Chapter 6, we discuss the dental database designs. We talk about the concepts and how the tools can be utilized with respect to various design techniques when using dental database. Chapter 7, we discuss the correlation designs. Now again, here we discuss when this design is best utilized, how it should be used, and how it can be used as one of the most expedient, most accurate ways of developing CEREC technique. In Chapter 8, we discuss the antagonist designs, going into detail again as to when this technique is best used to develop aesthetically pleasing and functionally stable restorations. Chapter 9, we discuss a section that is rarely discussed with respect to most CEREC training, and that's the replication design. How and best to best use the replication design technique when designing posterior crown restorations. Chapter 10, we enter the correlation ghost designs, and we discuss not only what we call the correlation ghost, but the antagonist ghost design techniques that we developed here at Southwest Clinical Technologies a number of years ago. In Chapter 11, we discuss the correlation quadrant technique, specifically what is the best way to complete the first few quadrant designs that you do for success with a minimum amount of occlusal adjustment. Y'all, there's so many different ways to teach and to do quadrants, but unfortunately many of them result in the necessity for you to spend an inordinate amount of time working with the restorations after milling. In this chapter we discuss how best to complete your first in many of your quadrant design techniques. Then in Chapter 12 we go into milling, finishing, and bonding of your restorations. Again, delving more into the various materials and how we're going to utilize them, but specifically what we utilize on a day-to-day basis at Southwest Clinical Technologies with respect to how we handle these restorations and our bonding procedures, our finishing procedures, as well as evaluations of our millings. In the CEREC Encyclopedia, Volume 2, again, we go in and specifically discuss advanced posterior restorative techniques and our implant restorative techniques. Y'all, our concept was simple. Have CEREC in your own backyard to where a doctor can come in, we can meet, and I can present these informations on a lecture format directly to doctors in their study groups. The other thing that we were able to do was develop the CEREC Encyclopedia for those doctors who for whatever reason were unable to attend our CEREC in your own backyard programs. You can see the way the two of these parallel each other and work hand in hand. Then in our CEREC Encyclopedia, Volume 3, Again, here we discuss the anterior restorative techniques covering full crowns, veneers, correlation designs, correlation ghosts, replication, and how to do the anterior 6. Y'all, Southwest Clinical Technologies has been one of the most exciting endeavors that I've ever had the opportunity to be involved with. Take the time, if you would like, to review the more in-depth explanation of our programs, specifically the CEREC Encyclopedia, because I'm sure you will find, like so many doctors in their offices have, that it is one of the most economically sound investments that you will ever make with respect to your CEREC education. Y'all, I look forward to having the opportunity to meet you at one of our CEREC in your own backyard training programs, or having the opportunity to sit down with you as you view a CEREC Encyclopedia, either Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3, as you go through and continue your knowledge development with respect to your CEREC training. Y'all, it's been an opportunity that is second to none to teach CEREC all these years, and I look forward to having the opportunity to meet you, to work with you, and help you continue to develop the protocols to where CEREC will be a highly successful, highly predictable entity within your practice. It's been a pleasure having the opportunity to be here with you now. I'm Dr. Bob Conrad.